Hi, welcome to On Scene with TFD, the Tallahassee Fire Department's new show. I'm Mike Bellamy, your host and Public Information Officer for the Tallahassee Fire Department. Today's show is about how to save a life. We will bring you an extraordinary story about a recent call for help that was answered not only by Tallahassee firefighters, but also by some quick-thinking, well-trained bystanders. In fact, that response resulted in a life saved. You will meet the CEO of the American Red Cross, Daniel Sanborn, and learn about what role his organization plays in teaching all types of members in our community the skills to save a life. Now I'd like to introduce you to our first guest, firefighter Brett Tillotson.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. So it's December 4th, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon of 2012, just a couple months ago. You're at Forest Meadows on Meridian Road. You're off duty.
Right.
You're coaching a crew team. You're rowing.
Right.
Is this a pretty typical day off for you at this point?
Yeah, it is. We all work 24 hours on, 48 hours off. And my 48 hours off, I'm the head coach at Capital City Rowing, area-wide program with 80 kids, grades 8 through 12, and we're doing stuff 9 to 10 months of the year. So yeah, it's a pretty typical afternoon off at that point for me.
You're erging.
We were on the rowing machines, the ergometers. We were also doing a little bit of weightlifting.
Okay. So what happens next? Something out of the ordinary?
Yes, I was. I'm the girls' team's coach, and I was in one of the 2 rooms that we have and teaching them how to lift weights. And then in the other room where we have the rowing machines, the men's team was doing a pretty intense workout. There was a lot of yelling, a lot of encouragement going on. And one of the rowers, his father came to pick him up from practice, and he got down. He'd been to some of our camps over the summer, had learned how to use those rowing machines, got down and just started spinning the wheel a little bit and fell over of a heart attack.
Now, you say, so this is all right during practice?
It is. It is. There was 50 kids in the middle of workouts and 5 coaches there. Is
it loud in that room, when all those machines moving?
It's very, very loud. A lot of music, a lot of screaming, of encouragement. So kids pull harder, this and that. So yeah, it was a pretty hectic scene.
Yeah. So how were you alerted at that point?
The coaches that were running the men's erg practice came over. They're like, "Hey, we need you in there right away." And they were already on the phone with EMS. Called 911, let them know that it looked like someone had had a heart attack. We cleared the room. When I walked in, all the kids had gone out except for 2. They were both Eagle Scouts, and they had begun giving the man who'd fallen over, they'd given him some chest compressions and started CPR. I cleared them out of the way, made sure all the kids were well away from the scene, everyone, acting calm, cool, and collected. Clear out the cars because we knew we were going to have an ambulance and a fire truck respond at that point. I took a quick assessment of the patient, saw that he didn't have a pulse, and I asked one of my assistant coaches who had recently gone through fire school here in Tallahassee and was trained as a first responder to run over next door to the main office at Forest Meadows and get the AED. And knowing that it was a city facility, I knew we had one there. So he ran over, he got the AED while I started chest compressions and started giving rescue breaths, and hooked him up to the AED. While we continued CPR, we ended up shocking him 5 times before the fire department got there, and then the guys from Engine 9 went ahead and took over.
That's something that you mentioned about the city facilities. That's kind of unique that AEDs are so commonly available now. And I know in the city there are hundreds of them throughout. Not only, obviously, we have them on the fire trucks and the police officers carry them,
right?
But they're in different facilities. Where at Forest Meadows did they have an AED?
They had it right there at the front desk.
Inside? Okay. And then I'm assuming that the staff there is trained
they
as
were.
well?
As soon as my coach came back with it, about 30 seconds later, several staff members were there, offering their assistance.
Right.
Because they had all gone through first aid and CPR.
What's AED mean?
Automated external defibrillator.
Okay. So it's going to shock the heart.
It's going to shock the heart if it detects a shockable rhythm.
Right. Now, so you're trained. You've got experience. You've been on the fire department.
Right.
You work day on and day off. You're on the fire truck. You're probably not your first cardiac arrest.
No.
The gentleman that helped you out,
Right.
he's not a firefighter, or not a paid
firefighter.
Not a paid firefighter.
He's passed the state minimum standards test, but yes.
Probably has very little experience dealing with this. How important do you think was it that he had that first responder training?
I mean, I think it was pretty vital in this situation. He was familiar with the AED because he'd had hands-on during his first responder training during fire standards. So I didn't have to teach, I didn't have to instruct, he just knew what to do. He hooked up the pads and then was able to start giving the breaths when I was giving compressions. And I mean, if it wasn't for him, it would have been a very, very, very difficult task.
So at this point, as you're hooking the pads, you've shocked the AED is actually automatic, so it's advising you what to do and whether or not there is a opportunity for it to shock the heart. So it's telling you to shock the heart. You're clearing, you're hitting the button, following it's telling you what to do, right?
Oh yeah, it's I mean, it's designed in a way to where in a situation like that where people are going to be a little bit flustered, a little bit panicked at best, as long as you hook it up, it tells you what to do. All you have to do is follow the instructions.
Right.
And frankly, that's all I did.
What's your impression at that point? What's your impression of what's going to happen, of the patient, of the outcome?
Well, I mean, that there was a shockable rhythm I thought was a very good sign. And, you know, that the high school rowers that had witnessed the arrest had begun compressions on him immediately. I knew that greatly increased his chances of survival. So, you know, I felt cautiously optimistic. I mean, it was kind of hard to break down what
you're always
actually going through.
You're always hoping for the best, and you're just going to keep on keeping on.
Right.
When Engine 9 is coming from Thomasville Road at Dorothy B. Evan, when they arrive, what happens?
When they arrived, first of all, I was happy to see some familiar faces and know that guys with some more equipment, with some narcotics and some other, you know, more advanced tools at their disposal were there to help.
Engine 9's an ALS engine. Do they have paramedics
Engine 9's
on
an
there?
ALS engine. They had 2 paramedics on that day, and you know, I was able to just continue compressions and let them kind of take over.
Right.
So yeah, it was a relief seeing them.
Right. And they obviously they're carrying all the equipment in at that point. They see you, they make contact with you, they know that this is what we call a code situation, where they're going to grab the backboard and you know, and begin to. It's quite a production in terms of the amount of people required to set that up. Well, Brett, thank you for telling your story. We're going to bring you back in our next segment, and we're going to introduce you to 2 of the firefighters that arrived on Engine 9 and tell you more about the outcome of our extraordinary story. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Mike Terhune with the Tallahassee Fire Department. Did you know the chance of fires caused by candles greatly increase during the winter months? Please take care when using candles in the home. Keep lit candles out of reach of children and pets. And remember, never leave lit candles unattended in the home. When you go out,
For more life-saving tips, visit the fire department's website at talgov.com.
Welcome back to On Scene with TFD. Before the break, we were talking about an extraordinary call for service that the fire department recently responded to. We left you at the end of the story where fire crews were arriving on scene where a patient was having a cardiac arrest. I'd like to now introduce our 2 guests who were riding on Engine 9 that day, firefighter Jay Grant.
How you doing?
Thanks for being here.
I'm glad to be here.
And engineer Matt Coe.
Thanks for having me.
So we left at a kind of suspenseful moment there. We've got a patient that's in cardiac arrest.
Yep.
Witnessed cardiac arrest is what we call it when someone sees somebody go down. Off-duty firefighter Brett Tillotson is on scene with some personnel that are trained in CPR and AED. They've shocked this patient several times. But let's back up. You're at the firehouse. You don't know anything about this. It's 4:13. We're about to clean up, I think, 4:30 station cleanup.
Yep. Yeah.
Probably getting things in order, about to pull the fire truck out. Jay, what happens next?
Well, actually, it is pretty much like you said. Normally at Station 9, we kind of tend to want to start cleaning up a little bit early, and then the call comes in, cardiac arrest, Forest Meadows, and so I'm already thinking like cardiac arrest. Like, okay, all right. The first thing that I'm thinking about is CPR in progress, or did someone just call it in? If the person had just coded, so to speak, how long has he been down? Was it witnessed? Was it not witnessed? Was he just found there pulseless?
Right.
That's the first thing that's going through my mind.
Right.
And
well, let me stop you there now.
Okay.
Matt, you're the fire engineer. You drive the fire truck. What happens?
Initially, we got the call from dispatch saying that we had someone down. It was, CPR in progress call. So we immediately jump in the fire engine and head towards the location of the call. My responsibility is to get them there safely. And we arrived on scene. We were the first to arrive on scene, I believe, that day. There was a large group of people standing outside. It was kind of chaotic to begin with.
Is that normal, that it's kind of chaos and a lot of people when you...
Extremely normal. No two scenes are ever alike. You don't ever really know what to expect regardless of how the call comes in. You're always, on your toes. First thing you want to do, obviously, for us is scene safety. You want to make sure there's no hazards that are going to, present an obstacle to us. We actually made our way inside the building, found Brett. He had done an absolutely fantastic job of clearing the people out of the building and kind of controlling the scene. He had taken command of it at that point.
Now, what level of training do you have?
I'm an EMT. I'm an EMT with the fire department. I've been an EMT for almost 8 years now. This was not our first code by any stretch of the imagination, but everyone's different. So
right now, is somebody in charge when you look at your crew? Engine 9 is an ALS or Advanced Life Support engine with all your advanced cardiac drugs and these types of intravenous medications that we got to get in these patients when they're having a cardiac arrest. You're the paramedic?
I am the paramedic, and for that shift, and pretty much normally, I am the lead paramedic. The lead paramedic has the responsibility of taking care of and securing the narcotics that's on the engine. And, when I'm on the way to the call, it's my responsibility, while he's driving, it's my responsibility to gather as much information as possible. And I'm going back and forth with EMS, trying to figure out what's the state of the patient, what's going on, is there CPR in progress? And there was CPR in progress. The patient, it was a witness arrest, and CPR has started immediately. On the way there, I had found out that the patient was shocked several times, which gives me a clear indication that if we can get to him soon enough, we can start ACLS immediately, which will definitely increase his chances of coming out of this situation.
So ACLS, Advanced Cardiac Life Support?
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell me what happens. Does this end in a good fashion?
Yeah. I would say so. We got there on scene. As Matt said, Brett was doing CPR. Everything was cleared out. So, first thing I said to Brett, he gave me a report saying he shocked him 5 times, and he shocked him a 6th time when we arrived. And then, as soon as he shocked him, we went right into doing our interventions, starting the IO in the patient's leg. I told Matt to get on the O2. He pulled out the bag valve map and started breathing for the patient.
So when does the patient start to show signs of life?
I believe as soon as they intervened chemically.
Yeah.
Wasn't that it?
Yeah. We started the IO.
Which is just a pathway to inject
Yeah,
the medications into the system.
Endoarterial, just drilled right into the leg, and we gave the first round of ACL, which is epinephrine. We gave that, pushed that one drug, shocked them the 7th time, and the patient's pulse came back.
So the heart's beating again.
The heart is beating. He's hooked on the monitor. We are seeing the rhythm.
And at that point, he started to breathe on his own.
And he started breathing on his own as well.
Now, I mean, do they just, at that point, is he like open his eyes and look
No,
at you and say, thank you.
Not by a long shot.
Thank
No.
you for saving my
No, we
life.
wish that would happen.
Yeah, it's definitely not like the movies.
It wasn't like that, but it was definitely a step in the positive direction. I mean,
for sure.
His
very
body's on its
optimistic.
own.
Very optimistic.
Started to see some really strong vital signs. So
Now the reality is, for this is a miraculous outcome. We do that wasn't your first cardiac code.
No.
Oftentimes it is not this great of an outcome.
unfortunately,
The result, there's not always an AED by. There's not always a trained personnel that knows CPR. But the reality is, this patient needs to be loaded in an ambulance and needs to be taken to the hospital and cared for by a team of doctors and nurses.
Absolutely.
Is that what happened with this patient?
Yes. Not too soon after we arrived, EMS was right behind us. We did have enough time to start the IO already, and once we pushed the medication, he started breathing on his own, just agonal respiration. So we did have to assist him in breathing. We had to help him breathe.
Right.
But we got him loaded up to the on the stretcher, out the door, and loaded into the ambulance, and we were on our way to the hospital. I rode in with EMS to give the paramedics from the county an extra set of hands, and we just
it's not something that just two folks can accomplish. It's something you want 3 or 4.
it's definitely a team effort.
team effort.
To work a code, the best ideal number to work a code, in my opinion, is 3 people, because you need a set of hands to do different things, and you want to be able to get them all done as quickly and as safely as possible.
Well, Matt, the title of our show is How to Save a Life today, and we're talking about an extraordinary call, and it's miraculous, and all the folks that were involved in it. It's not just 1 or 2 people. How important is it that we have people in our community who are trained to know CPR and AED from a firefighter's perspective?
I think it's extremely important. Early intervention was the key, and I have absolutely no doubt if Brett and the bystanders that were there that day had not acted the way they did, as quickly as that man went down, he was receiving help. And early intervention is absolutely the key. Seconds are so precious. Lack of oxygen, lack of blood flow, anything that disrupts the body's natural functions are extremely destructive to it. You instantly start to build up things in the body that are not conducive with life. You have severe problems that will develop later with extended lack of oxygen or blood flow. So early intervention was the key to this success story. Obviously, Jay and one of the other paramedics being able to perform their duties helped substantially.
Engineer Co., Firefighter Grant, thank you for joining us. It's a wonderful story. We're going to come back after the break. Stick around. You're going to meet the CEO of Red Cross and talk about the skills that you can learn in just several hours to one day save a life. We'll be right back.
I miss eating dinner with my family in our own kitchen.
550 children in Tallahassee are missing the simple joys of being a kid.
I miss having my own bed. I miss having our own house.
550 kids missing the simple comfort of having a place to call home. Join the Change for Change program by simply adding a monthly contribution to your city utility account. For the cost of just a gallon of milk, you can help all our kids enjoy the simple, extraordinary things about just being a kid.
Hi, welcome back to On Scene with TFD. Before the break, we were talking about an amazing call where a life was saved and some well-trained bystanders played a key role in making all this happen. Well, right now I'd like to introduce a new guest, the CEO of the Red Cross, Dan Sanborn. Dan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Mike.
We're bringing back firefighter Brett Tillotson. Dan, the topic of today's show is how to save a life. And that's we've talked about this miraculous call, and we really wanted to bring this all full circle back to what you do, what your agency does, is that's train people on how to save a life.
Yeah, we're sort of the beginning of that whole cycle. You went from CPR to advanced cardiac life support. We're the folks that teach you how to do CPR and teach you how to hook up an AED. And Brett talked about how simple the AED is. It talks to you and tells you what to do. All you have to do is just listen to the prompts. And
Yeah.
it's made that way, so you can't screw it up.
Brett, is it that easy?
It was that easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking at some of the stats before the show, and they did a survey some years ago nationwide. They asked people what they would do if someone had a cardiac arrest in front of them. 75% of the people said they felt helpless. What does that mean when you look at what you do every day?
Well, it just means we have to train some more people. Typically, most Red Crosses get about a 2 to 3% market penetration of people that know what to do in an emergency. That's not a high percentile of people trained outside of professionals such as yourself.
Right. Now, one of the other stats, 88% of cardiac arrests happen in the home. That was pretty compelling. And one of the things I think that was really important when we look at the incident that firefighter Tillotson witnessed was that there was early intervention. There's I think the stats are 90% of these cardiac events can be converted with an AED if there's intervention within that first 2 to 3 minutes. And I think that was his case. He had intervention that quick.
Absolutely. When Eagle Scout there doing compressions within about 15-20 seconds.
Do we know what the outcome was for that person that had a cardiac arrest, the later down the road, a month down the road?
Yeah, after a little bit of time at TMH, he came out of a coma and was walking, talking, back with his family within about a week and a half, and back to work not long after that. So he's doing very well.
Very impressive.
Dan, can anybody learn CPR?
They can. Minimum age is 17 years old, only because of some of the book work and all of that, but there's no upper age limit, that's for sure. So if you're 17 and the courses and the curriculum are about an 8th grade education level, so it's fairly simple to learn.
Yeah, and we talked about the CPR and then we talked about AED. It's kind of two separate things. Are those two different types of training?
No, they are, but they're combined into one course, or you can just take the CPR by itself. A lot of mothers just want to take infant CPR, for example, knowing what to do for an infant, but the most common course is the CPR AED combined.
What type of time commitment are they looking at if they want to come out to your one of your facilities and take a course? What type of time commitment?
Well, for the combined course, AED, CPR, it's about a 6-hour training. It can run a little longer or shorter depending upon how many people are there.
Is it expensive?
No, I think it's very, very reasonable. You know, there's different price breaks for different groups. Brett mentioned the Eagle Scouts. We've got a wonderful relationship with the scouting world, and we try to get them a lot of free training and all of that. But there's costs involved to buy the equipment, the AEDs to train with, and all we try to do is recoup our cost.
Right. Now, what do folks need to know if they do want to reach out there, become CPR certified, and maybe even a friend, babysitters can go in a group? How do they reach out to the Red Cross?
Well, they can either come by or call or go online, any of the three, and sign up for a class that way.
And it's www.tallyredcross.org?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, we got to tell the viewers, what's it like when you learn CPR? It just can't be something we just read about. Brett, like when you took CPR class, do you do it on an actual person? Do you do it on a dummy? How does that work?
Oh, there's a dummy there. There's
Okay.
a dummy there, and it's important to get your hands on and know how hard you have to do compressions and how to tilt the head correctly for breaths and everything else.
Actually feel it.
Yes.
Now, I would imagine technologies come, Brett and I have been EMTs and certified for some years now. You actually did some service in the 10 years in the fire service.
Correct.
25 years of Red Cross. I'm sure you've seen all types of different mannequins and dummies. Are they pretty advanced now?
They are. They're very advanced, where they're much more sanitary in the advancement of them, and I think they're more realistic. The course has also gone blended learning, so you can do a lot of it online and take all your book work and testing online and just come in and do the skills tests. Like Brett said, it's very important to understand the feel for that, the breathing and putting on the pads for the AED and all of that.
Dan, I brought an AED in. I actually carry this one in my vehicle, and just kind of give the viewers a chance to look at how simple it is. I think my mom's got more buttons on her cell phone. This is a pretty simple device, right?
It is. The only thing missing is the tear-off thing with the pads, and it plugs right into that. And
is this something similar to what was used at Forest Meadows when they initially?
That's the same model that we used.
Right. This is an automatic external defibrillator, correct?
correct.
Right. And we see these when you look around as you're out and about. I notice I'm seeing these more and more in restaurants. Do you have these at your facility?
Absolutely.
Just out on display so that folks that are trained can pull those down.
Right there at the lobby. The statistics they vary a little bit, but if AEDs were as pervasive as fire extinguishers, you'd save at least 50,000 lives annually across the U.S.
Right. One of the cardiac events are the leading cause of death. I was reading that. That's pretty impressive. Early intervention's key. All these things, basically lead us that, and it's not just that you're going to rely on the fire department or police department to come, but it's crucial that we all sort of pitch in and we all babysit from time to time, or we're in these large groups. I think it's important that we reiterate how important that is for all of us to get out there. It's easy to do. I think people are intimidated by it. But it really is simple skill to learn.
It is simple, and we do a lot of post surveys after classes, and talking with people that have taken a course have never used CPR in a year's time, how comfortable they still feel, and over 75% say they feel very comfortable. They retain the knowledge, and they would feel comfortable about giving CPR or applying an AED.
Great. Well, Dan, thank you for being here. Thank you for talking about the great work that your agency does. Hopefully you can continue. Maybe we'll have some new interest in CPR.
Good.
Firefighter Tillotson, thanks again for joining us and telling your amazing story.
Well, thanks for having me.
And we appreciate your service to the community. That's all the time we have for today's show. As we close, we'd like to leave you with an important message. And as you've seen today, CPR can be an important skill for you to learn, and one day you may be the hero in need. If you're interested in taking a class, simply head over to www.tallyredcross.org or call the Red Cross at 878-6080. I'm Mike Bellamy. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Scene with TFD.